Hey guys, welcome back to Stuff. This is part 2 of the Tequila Seasoning Fruit build. If you haven't watched part 1, I've linked it in the top corner of the video. And as a reminder, that game looked a bit like this. So this video will concentrate solely on the box and the build of the box and all the little bits inside the box. So yeah, if you like it, remember to like, subscribe and all that stuff. And without further ado, let's get on with it. So the first task in a box build is to mill some lumber. So I got some sapele, which is the same wood that the game is made out of, or the main part of the game is made out of, and I use the jointer and the thicknesser to get the lumber from rough lumber to sort of milled lumber, so all the edges, or at least two of the edges, were parallel, and then used my table saw in order to cut down to size. Once all the sides were cut to height, I set the table saw up so that I could cut a rebate in the top and bottom of each of the side panels. This was to accommodate the top and bottom of the lid and base, essentially. I did that on all the pieces. And once that was done, I could cut the 45-degree angle. So I set my table saw up to 45 degrees and just used a simple jig in order to get in order to cut each of the side pieces with a 45-degree angle on the end. There are probably better jigs available. This was just the one I chose to make in the time I had. What I will say is, when making a box, some lessons learned for me is when cutting the 45 degrees, make sure that your table saw is exactly 45 degrees, because if you get 0.1 or 0.2 of a degree out on all the corners, that compounds and you end up with something that doesn't fit together quite right when you go to fit it together. For the base and the top, I milled some really thin lumber, around 5mm, on the thicknesser, and then cut that to size on the table saw before doing a glue up. The reason I did that is because the planks I had were just that small, so I had to do a glue up to get the size that I wanted. And then once that was dry, just gave it a big sand to make sure that it was flat, and then cut to size again on the table saw. With all the bits cut to size, the lid, the bottom, the sides, it was time for a glue up. I'm using just standard Gorilla Glue on all the joins and where the base slots into the rebates. Then I could use a set of corner clamps, which will allow me to clamp the box together. You can see at the moment that the box is no lid, but I will cut that later once it's dry. Once dry, to add a bit of strength to the box, I cut some 45-degree slots in the corner using another little jig that I knocked up. Cut 3 of those, and then added some thin pieces of wood in order to provide some strength to all the corner joints. And again, once those were glued in and dried, I could just cut those flush and give it all a big sand. With the corners sorted, it was time to cut the lid off. I did that on the table saw, just cutting each edge against the fence in turn until the lid came free. And then, in order to make sure that they were nice and clean, I just taped some 120 grit sandpaper to the bed of my table saw, because it's the only table I've got, and did a bit of just sanding until they fit flush together. So with the box all sanded and the lid cut off, I was then able to use my partner's mum's laser engraver, which he kindly let me use to engrave the name of the game on the top. In order to make the box hinge, I used some concealed hinges that I got off Amazon, so just some cheap brass ones that came, they're sort of barrel hinges, I think they would be called, or concealed hinges. I just drilled some holes using the pillar drill into one side, used some dowel pins to mark the other side, and drilled the opposing holes. Because of the style of hinge I used, I also had to relieve the back edge just so that it would open properly. So I just used a block plane in order to relieve the back edge and allow the lid to open. I also knocked up some box inserts using some more sapele. These were just simple sort of 45-degree angles on the end with the legs sort of glued on so that I could sort of make them upstand, and then drilled some holes in them using the pillar drill to allow all of the bowls and seasoning pots to sit in. And with everything all glued up, all lasered, and the hinges on, it was time just to put a big coat of oil on it. I think I went for 3 coats of Danish oil, which is my standard go-to oil for this type of thing. And yeah, that was that done. And here's the box with all of the bowls, tequila glasses, and seasoning pots in. And I also added a piece of material to the lid, which just held the fruit forks and the seasoning spoons, because the game wouldn't be complete without them. So there we have it. That was the box build for tequila seasoning fruit. Really enjoyed making that box actually. Looked quite nice. Might make one again in the future, but who knows. I will be back. I've got a few videos lined up. Been doing a bit of DIY on the house, which I videoed. I'll try not to leave it a year until I upload again, but you know, life takes over sometimes. So in the meantime, stay safe, get some stuff done.